guys, it's Will with Adventures in Anime. Today we're talking about Space Adventure COBRA. Yo, this is nuts. So this came out in 1982, and I loved this movie. And there's one thing I didn't like about it that I found really irritating, but for the most part, I loved it. It is completely insane. And it has the type of imagination that I'm coming to really appreciate from anime films, because it's like, who came up with this? And it's one of those things where, when you become entrenched, as I said before on this show, like I studied screenwriting and I work with screenwriters and I read scripts for studios and stuff like that. And when you get really entrenched in that world, there's this constant dogma that things that are too outlandish don't work, right? You have to stick to like something that mainstream audiences will accept and that is believable by its own logic. And all these kind of like these BS rules that aren't really real rules, right? And holy potato, this show is completely insane. Like, it just throws all of that out the window. And there's like, it opens with this assassin woman killing this like weird priest witch doctor type guy she cuts his head off, but then his head is still alive and it comes after her later, and she's like punching the head and is trying to bite her face and it's flying. It's insane. The villain, who is amazing, he's like, his skeleton is made out of metal and his skin is clear and it's porous, so like people shoot him and the rays pass through his body, so like he's really hard to kill and he's really evil and he's a really good villain. And the kind of central premise of the show or the movie is that there's these three sisters who are triplets who were originally one being, split into three. They're from a race that's rumored to have been extinct. They were born on a star that is actually a man-made star that can be steered like a spaceship. And they all, according to like the lore of their people, they all have to love the same man. And when they find that man, they will merge back into one person and can return to their star and take control of the spaceship. And there's a guy who kind of looks like a frog Buddha who flies around space in a bubble, who is a professor, who is the guardian of all the knowledge of the planet that these women come from. But then you have the protagonist, and this is the thing that I didn't really love about this. The protagonist is just kind of a douchebag, is the best way to put it. He's like an Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, what's the Han Solo type, but he's like the more obnoxious, stupider version. He's almost like Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's just annoying. And these star women fall in love with him, and everyone is in awe of his amazing skills as like a space pirate, and he's like this legendary guy. And one thing that's cool about him is he has a psycho gun, and it's called a psycho gun, on his left arm, and he'll have like a hand, and then it'll turn into this gun, and he'll blow all this crap up. And, like, there's amazing dialogue in this movie, like, no one, can withstand the blast of the psycho gun. And there's really, really psychedelic imagery in this movie. Like, there's scenes where there's, like, half of a person, like, blown up to be giant, composed of, like, psychedelic colors and patterns floating through space this way, and half of the same person floating this way, and they, like, pass by each other while this crazy, psychedelic, almost like King Crimson-y music plays. Like, this movie really embraces the full potential of animation. Like, it is not at all bound to camera movements. Like, there's a lot of stuff that they show in this movie that you could never, ever do in a live-action movie, even with what you have in terms of CGI now. I think not because it's technologically impossible, but because it takes away the element of the camera. And I think that most movies with big budgets that do tons of CGI, even though everything's computer generated and you don't need to be bound by the rules of camera, are afraid not to be, probably because they're worried about audience perception of something that is not what people are used to seeing, because the camera and the POV of the camera is such a convention of cinema. So, I mean, this is just a crazy movie. Like, again, it's an enormous world. It's really awesome. It's super psychedelic. I really enjoyed this movie. And I think it's the same director as Golgo 13, which we did another episode on, which I also really, really liked. Osamu Dezaki is his name. I think that was 83. This was 82, so he was on fire in the early 80s. Space Adventure COBRA is the name of this movie. Adventures in Anime is the series that you are watching. My name is Will. I loved this one. Recommend more stuff to me like this. That would be awesome. Put it in the comments below, and we will see you next time.